Iron Man 2, the black sheep of the MCU, criticized for being a messy, overstuffed sequel that couldn't live up to its predecessor. But what if we've been too harsh? What if Iron Man 2 was secretly laying the groundwork for the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe? And doing it with style? Let's dive in and find out. Was Iron Man 2 really that bad? Released in 2010, Iron Man 2 hit theaters with sky-high expectations after the first Iron Man became a surprise blockbuster, but fans and critics were quick to call it a letdown. A disjointed plot, too many characters, and a villain who quite didn't land. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 72%, a far cry from the first film's 94%. Yet, over a decade later, Iron Man 2's reputation is starting to shift. Some fans argue it's an underrated gem packed with ambition and heart. So let's unpack the good, the bad, and the misunderstood to see if this sequel deserves a second chance. To understand Iron Man 2, we first need to look at its context. The first Iron Man was a standalone triumph, but Iron Man 2 had a much tougher job. It was more than a sequel, it was MCU's first real attempt to build a shared universe. Marvel had to introduce S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Widow, and hints of the Avengers while keeping Tony Stark's story front and center, and that's a lot to juggle. The studio was also under pressure to deliver after Disney's $4 billion acquisition of Marvel in 2009. Director Jon Favreau has since revealed he clashed with Marvel over the film's direction, with the studio pushing for a more world building while he wanted a tighter character-driven story. The result? A sequel that feels like it's pulling in two directions at once. Then there's the pacing. The plot jumps from Tony's health crisis to a government shutdown to a rivalry with Justin Hammer and Ivan Vanko. It's chaotic, but is that chaos a flaw or part of its charm? Okay, let's talk about what actually works. First is the obvious. Robert Downey Jr. is electric as Tony Stark. He brings depth to a character who's spiraling, facing his own mortality while hiding behind his trademark wit. The scene where Tony synthesizes a new element in his garage is peak Stark, genius, reckless, and inspiring. The action also delivers, as in the Monaco Grand Prix fight, with whiplash, electrified whips cutting cars in half. And it's visually stunning, but as far as the suitcase suit, it definitely pays homage to one of the more popular armors, the Silver Centurion, which is also one of my favorites. And that alone is one of the MCU's iconic moments. Then let's get to the supporting cast. Sam Rockwell's Justin Hammer is a delightful, slimy foil to Tony, stealing practically every scene he's in, especially with those dance moves. Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow makes a killer debut, and Don Cheadle seamlessly steps into War Machine, replacing Terrence Howard. Even the S.H.I.E.L.D. subplot, often criticized as filler, plants the seeds for the Avengers that paid off big time. Iron Man 2 was more than a sequel, but it was a foundation. However, let's keep it a buck. This sequel definitely had issues, the biggest being Ivan Vanko, aka Whiplash, aka Titanium Man, aka Crimson Dynamo. Mickey Rourke's performance is intense, but unfortunately his character feels underdeveloped. His motivations are murky, and the final battle scene ends much too quickly, robbing him of the menace he promised in Monaco. The pacing also stumbles, the second act drags with too many subplots. Tony's drunken party, his feud with Rhodey, and S.H.I.E.L.D.'s cryptic meddling. It can feel like the movie's trying to do too much all at once, leaving audiences overwhelmed. And while the world building was necessary, it sometimes overshadows Tony's personal arc, making the story feel less focused than the first film. Here's where things get more interesting. What if Iron Man 2's messiness wasn't a flaw, but a feature? This sequel took risks that shaped the MCU's future, and it dared to weave the cinematic universe when no one knew it would work. By introducing S.H.I.E.L.D., Black Widow, and of course, once again, the Avengers Initiative. It was more than a setup, it was a gamble that paid off. Without Iron Man 2's ambition, we might not have the interconnected MCU we know today. As for Tony's arc, it's messier than the first film, but that's the point. He's a flawed hero grappling with his legacy, his health, and especially his ego. It's raw and human, and that sets up growth in later films like Avengers and Civil War. While Iron Man 2 wasn't perfect, it's still bold, and maybe that's why it's finding new fans today. So, was Iron Man 2 that bad? Actually, no. Despite it being somewhat flawed, it was still, again, ambitious, that packed memorable moments, and a vision that helped shape the cinematic empire. It's not the tightest superhero flick, but it's got heart, style, and a fearless willingness to experiment. Maybe it's time we give Iron Man 2 the credit it deserves, not as a misstep, but as a bold step forward.